So we'll start this time actually with the chanting, so that we really know what spiritual tradition we're following and why we're following it. Yeah, those are two really important things. If we don't have that, then spiritually we're kind of, here, there, doing this and that, not sure why we're doing what we're doing. Yeah. And often what comes from that is what Lama Yeshe used to call making soup. Yes, meaning that when you make soup, you put carrots and cauliflowers and this and that and the other thing in it and mix it all together. And so he was referring to people who aren't quite sure what spiritual tradition they follow. So, they do Buddhism, and they do crystals, and they do Sufi dancing, and they do Pilates, and then they do, esoteric Judaism, and they do Sufi dancing and Islam, and take a little bit of everything and mix it together and invent their own tradition, which they themselves practice. So so that's like making soup. You cherry pick, or cauliflower pick, carrot pick. So there's nothing wrong with having your main tradition that you follow, and you know why you're following it, and why, and then learning things from other traditions, or admiring things in other traditions. That's, being quite open-minded. But it's when you really do the cherry picking and kind of create your own soup that he was saying is a bit of a problem, yeah. But if you look at His Holiness Dalai Lama, who he's quite definitely a Buddhist, yeah, but he's very open to other traditions. And in terms of interfaith, there was this picture of him wearing a yarmulke at the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem. Okay. Yeah, and we're, being anointed by some of his Hindu friends, and things with Muslims, and then of course being with the Pope. And so, appreciating things from all the different traditions. And, and sometimes there's things that are mentioned in other traditions that, are probably just deeply buried in your own tradition, but it's said explicitly in another tradition. And you really like that. And I'll give you an example. When I was in Israel some years ago, my friends took me to meet a Sufi practitioner, an older man, and his family. We had such a great kind of meeting together, a real understanding. And one of the things he said was that in Islam, and I guess particularly in the Sufi tradition, you're not allowed to possess something that your neighbors cannot afford. And I thought, wow, that is good, to hold that as a spiritual value of sharing wealth equally and everybody self-regulating, rather than building yourself up with tons of stuff that other people don't have access to. So, that another thing, that's stuck in my mind over time that I really appreciate. So, it's kind of in the Buddhist traditions too, when you think of, the paramita, the perfection of generosity. But to say it explicitly like that I thought was really wonderful. Yeah, so so learning from the different traditions, and of course other traditions learn from Buddhism. The reason, one of the reasons, I should say, that I stressed yesterday, that all other spiritual traditions can do the meditation to develop concentration, but it only becomes a Buddhist practice when we take refuge, okay? And that has to do with how much our view influences our experiences in meditation, okay? And for example, I read a story once, because Zen Buddhism is quite popular in the States, and the thing about just sit, many people like that. So there was a rabbi who sat a Zen retreat, and his conclusion at the end of the Zen retreat was, that he felt so much closer to God. Now, of course, Zen is it's found in Buddhism, and to come to the conclusion that there's a creator who's managing the universe is, that's not something that you come to the conclusion of from studying Buddhist philosophy. Okay, and so when I read about this, I was really quite puzzled, and then it hit me, well, this is his belief when he went to do the retreat. And so, what your view is, whatever you experience in retreat, you attribute to your view. Yeah, and so, for him, that made sense. For him, it was a wonderful retreat. It benefited him. Yeah. I don't think I would come to that conclusion, but I'm not a Zenny, so my first couple of years in college, we were reading some Zen texts, and I couldn't make heads or tails out of them. Yeah, they were gone beyond for me. Yeah. So, we find traditions that really make sense to us and are suitable for our own disposition, our own interests, our own habits. Yeah. So what's good for one person isn't necessarily the best thing for another person. And one person likes as their teacher, somebody else that's not the right teacher for them. So, to really have an open mind regarding all of this, instead of having what you could call football mentality for your spiritual practice. Ray, my team, rah, rah, my team's best, my religion's best. And it's this kind of attitude that when I find in other people from other religions who are trying to convert me, I don't find that attitude helpful. And so as a result, Buddhism doesn't proselytize. People come to Buddhism because they want to, and they make a request to receive teachings or whatever. So it depends on our energy, our reaching out, what view we hold, but to never kind of, if somebody has a belief that we may consider kind of what's the right word? Well, one of those beliefs. But if it makes them, be kinder to other people, if it helps them to not harm others, then we have no business dissuading them from that. Yeah, if they're interested in Buddhism, yes, we can share what we have, and we can, discuss things together, and that's quite helpful. We have some Catholic sisters that live not too far away, and we have a lot in common with them. They come and visit us, we go and visit them, so it's quite nice. Okay, so we're visualizing the Buddhist merit field, before we do the Buddhist prayers, in the sense that, we're affirming that, which tradition we're following, and then generating bodhicitta. Why are we practicing? Yeah. It says, I will become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Not, I will practice so that I will get blissed out and not have to spend so much money on drugs. That's not our motivation. Okay, so saying I will attain full awakening for the benefit of others may seem, lofty. It is lofty, yeah. And I remember at one of the conferences of Buddhist teachers from various traditions with His Holiness, I think it was in 1993, the question came up, everything, when we read the text, the way bodhisattvas practice, the attainments of the Buddhas and how they act is so beyond what, us meager little earthlings with, afflictive minds can imagine. Yeah, the kind of generosity of bodhisattvas is difficult when you think and so, well, that's wonderful. I'm glad they can give everything away, but okay, you can have this. So the question came to His Holiness, well, why do we say outlandish things like, I'm going to lead all sentient beings to awakening? Kind of, isn't that a bit egotistical? And if you have Lama Zopa as one of your teachers, when you do the dedication prayer, at 3:00 in the morning after he's kept you up for, 8 hours, then, he says, I might, this way, one of the dedications, I will go to the hell realms to benefit even one sentient being, and I will liberate all these sentient beings by myself alone. Really, Rinpoche? I have to that, I just want to, get myself out of the mess that I'm in from today to tomorrow. Other people's messes, their samsara, that's like, whoa. But then, why not? Why not aspire for that? Yeah. If you don't aspire for something, you will never go towards it. Think about it. How did anything that a talent you have or thing you enjoy doing, you had aspiration to do that, and then you went about creating the causes to be able to do that. So it's the same, with generating bodhicitta. Yes, in one way it's totally outlandish, yeah? In another way, wow, what an incredible aspiration to develop in our own heart. Instead of, but I'm just a little old me, I can't do things like that. You can liberate me when I'm in the hell realm, but don't ask me to liberate you, because I'm just little old me. Yeah? Yeah, if we see ourselves like that, then, then that's what we create the causes for. Yeah? So we have to be able to see our potential. And even though some of it may seem beyond the beyond, it's like all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that came before us have made these outlandish aspirations. So why shouldn't we be outlandish? I mean, America loves being outlandish, but it's usually outlandishly greedy or outlandishly trashing people or, outlandishly idolizing somebody because where they can put a ball. Yeah? How much of an industry is going on about where people put balls? Basketball, football, golf, soccer, badminton, volleyball. Everybody is like, totally enraptured with different kind of balls. And where you put them, can you put them between those two posts? Can you get them through that ring? How about this itty bitty hole? And you're like half a mile away, and you have to shoot your golf ball, over all the sand traps, and you aspire for a hole-in-one. I think it's easier to become a Buddha. Yeah. So, yeah. So this is a positive aspiration that really gets us going in the right direction. So, maybe we're not, we won't become a Buddha in this life, but just by saying that, repeating that, putting that seed in our mind again and again, someday when we are walking down the street and we see somebody who needs help, we'll stop and help. Yeah? By making that big motivation, at least it makes our mind shift to pay attention to other people and what are they experiencing. And when they're miserable, instead of blaming them for their own misery, to have some compassion and see what we can do to help them. Yeah? Helping doesn't mean you fix all their problems for them. Yeah? Help takes many forms. Yeah? Sometimes help means saying no. Sometimes help means saying, get your act together. But it's done with a kind mind, done with compassion. The presentation may be a little bit aggressive sounding, but the motivation isn't. Yeah. It's kind of like, I remember one time when I was in Chicago watching some kid run across the street and a car hit that kid and the kid went flying. And, thinking, what if a parent sees their little kid in the middle of the street? What do? They don't say, "Sweetheart, get out of the middle of the street. Yeah, I'll give you some candy if you do. Come on, you can do it." No, you don't say that when your kid's in the middle of the street and there's cars coming. You go out there, you pick the kid up, you shake the kid, and you say, "Do not go in the middle of the street, it's dangerous." And and you have to say it like that to get the message across to this kid. Yeah. "Johnny, Mary, sweethearts, come on." That's not going to get them out of the street when the cars are coming. Okay? But, when you do that with your child, you do it because you care about them. And I know for me, giving people the benefit of the doubt about their motivation has been really quite healing in many ways. Probably unlike like you, I did not like being disciplined as a child. Okay, nobody likes being disciplined, right? And my parents, well, my mom was a screamer, yeah. and if she was mad at somebody, everybody, including Dad, cowered, because, well, just because you knew what was good for you. But all the time I didn't like being disciplined. It kind of dawned on me at one point, that even though I didn't like it, it was necessary. Yeah, because I was acting like a brat. And not the kind of brat that Kamala is, but a real brat, maybe with a double T. She's a brat with a single T. I don't know. But it was like, oh, yeah, I was disciplined because they were trying to help me so that I could get along with other people and not just be rampantly selfish. Yeah. And of course, my self-centered mind didn't like when my parents pointed that out to me, that I was being selfish, because it was always my brother's fault. Yeah, let's get that clear. Okay, he started it. But it was, you're the oldest one, and so you know better. So I got blamed. Oh, unfair. But very often I did know better. Yeah, and I was acting like a brat, and so it was good. Yeah, I was able to see that they may have been angry at me at the very moment they were disciplining me, but the back motivation was to make it so that I could get along with other people. And I have to thank them for that. Yeah? And I suppose, how many of you are parents? Yeah? Did you like disciplining your kids? Was that a fun thing? Wake up in the morning, oh, today I get to discipline my bratty kid. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, no, it's not something you enjoy doing, but it's something that is necessary. Yeah. The important thing, I think, in disciplining kids, I'm off on a tangent, what to do. Just bear with me. It's my brother's fault. Where was I? Yeah, yeah, no, that it's not fun being a parent having to discipline your kid. Yeah, it's not fun being an abbess and having to discipline the people who voluntarily asked you to discipline them when they came here, and then you're just fulfilling their request. And they glower at you. Right? Yeah. Or they say, yes, but. Yeah, don't you love the people who say yes, but? Yeah. Anyway, maybe we should visualize. Yeah. Oh, no, I remember what I was going to say. I better say it before I forget it again. About disciplining kids. Yeah. That so often, what you say is, you're bad. You're a bad boy, you're a bad girl when you do whatever it was. Telling somebody they're bad does not give them any useful information about how to change. Yeah, it just makes them feel like something's wrong with them. If you say, you left your toys in the middle of the hallway, and so it's easy for people to stumble on them, pick them up, then you're telling the kid exactly what they did, that needs to change. And it's not put together with whether they're good or bad human beings. It's just this behavior doesn't work. Okay? Similarly, I think, when praising somebody, just saying to kids, you're a good girl, you're a good boy, whatever it is. Say that to your dogs and cats. They understand. But to a child, again, it doesn't give them any useful information. Yeah. Whereas if you say, your friends came over and you had snacks, and then you washed up, you cleaned up afterwards, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, then it lets the kid know, cleaning up after yourself is something that other people appreciate. Yeah, so, to think, this is an example with kids, but also in your workplace, with your friends, whoever it is, to actually be more specific instead of wild things of you're bad and you're good. Yeah, which really doesn't help much at all. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what did I do that was so good? I don't know. Yeah. And another thing that I saw while we're talking about disciplining kids, of course I didn't have any. Yeah. My mom used to say, wait until you have kids, then you'll know what I went through. So I didn't have any. But, yeah. Whoever we're talking to give more specific information about what behavior we like and so on. And it's kind of often, when we get really mad, the way we speak is outlandish. Yeah. Yes, it may be outlandish to say, I'm going to become a Buddha and lead all sentient beings to awakening. But the things we say to the people we love the most when we're angry, those are really outlandish. Yeah, think about it. Yeah. Who do you speak the most awful to? A stranger or somebody you love? Think about it. Would you ever say to a stranger what you say to the people you love when you're really, really mad? Yeah. So it's something to be aware of. I think when we say really awful things to the people we care about, it's because what we really are trying to say, I think what the undercover message is, I want to be close to you, but at this very moment I don't know how to. Yeah, I think that's what people are really saying. But of course they don't say that. They make all sorts of wild accusations, and incredible harmful speech. Yeah, whereas, okay, there's some people in society who trash strangers, but by and large, it's not done with the intensity of animosity as it is with the people we care the most about. So this is why equanimity is an important quality to cultivate. Yeah, so that we don't go on these rampages of, with our anger. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So, sometimes we're quite afraid of our own anger, let alone other people's anger. Yeah, we're afraid of our own anger. And we have to, when that happens, we have to handle it correctly. Just stuffing down the anger because we're afraid of what we'll say or do under its influence, just stuffing it, it's still there churning around in one way or another. And that's why it's so important to learn the antidotes to the anger and to apply them, so that there's no anger to stuff down. Yeah, you getting what I mean? Because then this is the virtue of the mind training teachings. When we can look at a situation from a different perspective, then we see that there's nothing really I need to get angry about. Yeah. You might say, but, yes, but, yeah, I can hear that. But so-and-so did this and that, and what they did was harmful, and I was abused, and it had a lasting effect on me. Yeah. Yeah. And then what I would reply to that is, you have these kind of conversations with yourself, yeah? So one part of your mind is saying, yeah, but, yes, okay, that may have happened. Why do you need to get mad at it, about it? That's the wisdom side of you speaking, okay? Then the angry side says, yes, but you don't understand, they did blah, blah, blah. And you reply to yourself, yes, why do you need to get mad about it? And you go through this a number of times because, I don't know about you, but my anger is justified. any sane person would be angry about this. Of course, I'm forgetting that in samsara, everybody is not sane, including myself. Yeah. Sane from a Buddhist viewpoint, okay? So, to really sit there, yes, okay, somebody may have harmed me. Why do I need to get angry? Yeah, what am I really trying to do when I'm angry? I'm trying to say I'm worthwhile. Don't harm me. But I don't need that other person to see me as worthwhile. What's important for my self-esteem is that I see myself as worthwhile. Yeah. Worthwhile doesn't mean I'm the best. Yeah. I don't have to be the best in order to be worthwhile. I have the potential to become a fully awakened Buddha. I found a path. I'm going along it with my baby steps. That's worthwhile. Other sentient beings, even that sentient being who's harming me, yeah, they're also worthwhile. They have the Buddha nature. They're doing what they're doing because they're miserable. Yeah, me getting angry at somebody who's miserable does not change their misery. It only intensifies it because they don't feel understood. Yeah. What about, you have these kind of dialogues with yourself. Yeah. And, what about if I showed myself some compassion? But compassion doesn't mean self-indulgence. It means I give myself a break, and I give other people breaks. Okay, so these, when I talked about yesterday in the morning, the 5 hindrances, the second, first one was attachment to sense pleasure. Second one was animosity, anger, grudge holding, wanting revenge, whatever you want to call it, how it manifests. So that one is a big hindrance also to developing concentration in our mind. So when you're trying to, focus on the breath, you're focusing on the Buddha, and then all of a sudden it's like, and this anger comes up and you don't know where it came from. Yeah. And then you have to deal with it. How do you deal with it? Like this. And then you learn from the situation. And I think whenever there's a situation that we can learn from, then that event was not useless. Okay? So even if there was some suffering we went through, if we learned something very important through that, yeah, then we were able to transform that situation, yeah, and make something that was painful into something that helped us become a better human being, a kinder human being, a wiser human being. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the problem is when we don't learn from our mistakes, and we do them again and again and again. You know that? Yeah. Yeah, they have, what is it? You walk around the block and there's a hole in the sidewalk, and the first time you step in it, and the second time you step in it, and the third time you blame the hole for being there. And then, then you blame the people who made the sidewalk. Then find somebody else to blame. And then finally you say, oh, well, part of the reason I keep tripping on that hole in the sidewalk is because I keep stepping there. Duh, So why don't I go around? It doesn't take that much extra effort to do that. Okay, and so, yeah. Similarly, do you, how many of you are aware that sometimes people you know quite well throw out a hook, and you bite the hook? Yeah. This happens in families a lot because we know how to push each other's buttons, how to hook each other, And so you might have a relative, or whatever, who throws out the hook. And yeah, we just do the same old thing. We bite the hook. And so, Christmas dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, Easter Sunday brunch, birthdays, it's always a rerun. Yeah. But when, so we might bite the hook a lot, but at some point, if we say, oh, I'm biting the hook, it takes two to tango. They threw the hook out, but I don't have to bite it. Yeah? And then you go, what do I do if I don't bite it? Yeah? Well, you can make a joke out of it. You can change the topic. You can tell a story. There's so many things you can do besides biting the hook. We just have to be aware at that moment when the hook is cast, that we don't bite it. And then we should also be aware and not deliberately throw the hook out, hoping somebody else, it will irritate somebody else, and they'll, latch on it. And then I could say, oh, why are you so upset? Oh, you're upset because I said something? I didn't mean any harm. Really? This is all your projection. I got them. Okay. So there's so many little dynamics like this. I was having dinner. Somebody invited me to their family's house for Thanksgiving dinner one year. And his mom and dad were, starting to get into a kind of conversation that married couples get into after a while. And, I didn't really notice that at the time because I don't know their family dynamics. I just felt like, something's starting to... And so I forget what they were talking about, but I picked up on one word, what they were talking about, and I changed the subject to something having to do with that word, and went on, took the conversation in another way. And my friend said to me afterwards, that was really clever what you did, because they were just getting into their usual, yeah, and you changed the subject. And I said, oh, did I? Because I wasn't really, like I said, I didn't know their family dynamics. But yeah, you can easily do that. Yeah, or you can make a joke. Yeah. It happened with my mom one time. I did something. It was some small thing. I can't even remember what it was. And anyway, it was my brother's fault. Um, no, he wasn't anywhere around at the time, but I can still blame him. Then, so she was throwing out the hook, and I just, I caught it, It's like, there's the hook, and I'm not going to bite it. And so she was criticizing me for something I did. I can't even remember. And I just went along with her. I said, yeah, Mom, I didn't think of it, And, at the end of the day, I'm really sorry to say, your daughter's kind of a dimwit and, is going to pass up opportunities like that. So, what can you do? And that was the end of the conversation. Yeah. And I was fine saying that about myself, because what she was mad at, in my mind, was something so small that, forget it. But, I could go along with her conclusion, and it stopped a potential argument before it even started. So there's things, you can do like that. Okay, so it's, we better really visualize the objects of refuge and generate bodhicitta. Okay. So let's cultivate our motivation. So anger, the wish for revenge or spite, holding a grudge, all these kinds of things, whether we express it outwardly as aggression or we stuff it inside and just slam the door or walk away, it's still anger. Our mind is unhappy. Our mind is in an afflictive state. And sometimes under the influence of that anger, we may explode and dump it on other people, saying all sorts of things afterwards that we regret. And sometimes we just shut down, don't communicate, walk away, ignore the people. But that's also done out of anger. It, neither approach that we took alleviated the pain in our own mind that comes from anger. And also our behavior, whether we explode or implode, again, is not something that connects us to other living beings. Whereas I think in our hearts, even when we're upset, what we really want is to connect with others, to recognize how we are in this together, how we depend on each other, and then to have a kind attitude towards others. But then how do we get from wanting to see kindness to the fact that that person just did X, Y, and Z that we find so objectionable? Well, if other people are just like us, and whatever they do, there's what the motivation is in their heart is just the wish to be happy and not suffer. So they may have done something that we object to, but it's because they're confused. Yeah, what they're really wanting is happiness. What they're really wanting is not to cause harm. It's just to be happy themselves. So that's just like us. What motivates us all the time is just wanting to be happy, not suffer. So if we can get in touch with that in ourselves, then we can see it in other beings too. Just trying to be happy and not suffer. And so when we're in that state, we welcome people's tolerance of our behavior. We welcome their kindness. So when somebody just did something that harmed me or something I don't like, can I respond in that way to them by seeing that underneath it, they're just trying to be happy and not be miserable. And so to wish them well. So what they did, I may not like, but the person is just like me. So I can understand that in them. I can give them the benefit of the doubt. I can give them, some kindness and compassion and tolerance. And when I do that, then the anger in my own mind evaporates. Doesn't go anywhere, it just evaporates. I return to a neutral mood or sometimes a good mood. And I've saved myself from creating some negative karma, and I've saved the other person from experiencing the results of me acting out of anger. So with that kind of attitude, then we can wish others well and let that compassion grow so it becomes the compassion that will generate bodhicitta and the wish to really involve ourselves in contributing to the welfare of the world. Okay, so structuring your meditation session. Yeah, if you're going to do meditation to develop serenity. Yeah, so what is usually advised is the first session in the morning, to do what they call the 6 preliminaries, or 6 preparatory practices. And these come from the Lamrim. Yeah? And so they are first to clean the room where you're going to meditate on. Now that might take a few hours. Hopefully you're meditating in a space that, does not get too dirty and disorganized. Yeah, so it doesn't take too long. Then, set up your shrine or your altar. Yeah. By the way, altar, A-L-T-A-R. Most people, when they write, I'm concerned about the altar, A-L-T-E-R. What do you want to alter? Yeah, alter's a verb, The other altar, A-R, is a shrine. Yeah, so just be patient with me. Yeah, I've had all my manuscripts marked up with red ink, so I kindly do that to other people who can't spell. Okay, back to this. Yeah, so clean the room, set up the altar, make offerings. What did we give the Buddha today? Plums, tangerines, and is that a peach? A nectarine. Wow. Yeah, if people give you that, are you going to lead them to awakening? You better, because it's what you give is what you get. Yeah. The idea with offerings is we're not bribing the Buddha. We're not doing the business with the Buddha. Yeah, so some people, when they go to the temple, especially people who've been raised in a Buddhist culture, I noticed this. It's like you go to the temple and somebody's sick, or you want your son or daughter to get married. Finally, they're 57, and then whatever it is, and you go to the temple and pray, Buddha, Buddha, Buddha. Please, may we win the lottery. Yeah, may my family win the lottery. And if we win the lottery, tell me my lucky number, Buddha. And if we win the lottery, then I will make nice offerings to you. And then you wait to win the lottery. If you win the lottery, you make an offering. If you don't give anything to the Buddha. That's doing business. Yeah. With Buddha, you deliver first, then I pay you. If you don't deliver, I don't pay you. And just try taking me to court. Yeah. So offerings we give because we need to develop a generous attitude. Yeah. So we give the offerings because it helps us to give. Not because we're doing business, not because we're trying to show off, how much money we have by making an elaborate offering, but because we have respect for the 3 jewels, and when we respect others' good qualities, we naturally want to give something, and when we respect their qualities, then we can also see our own potential to develop those same qualities. Okay? So that was the second step. Third step, you sit, the usual instructions are you sit in the position of Vairochana Buddha. So that's full pretzel position. Yeah, some people call that lotus position. That's not lotus. It's called the Vajra position. Your left foot on your right thigh, your right foot on your left thigh, okay? And then straight back, head level, not like this, not like this. Level, eyes just a little bit open to prevent drowsiness, yeah. Hands, the right and the left, the thumbs are touching like this. That's in your lap against your body, okay? If you can't sit like that, then you can do the half vajra, which is you put your right leg down. It isn't on your left thigh, it's on the ground. You sit on a bench. You sit like you sat in kindergarten with both legs crossed. You sit in a chair. If you're in a chair, try and have a straight back chair, not like the ones that we give you here. Yeah, we tried to find chairs with straight backs, but somehow that didn't happen. So, so that's the third thing. Then the fourth, you take refuge, and generate bodhicitta. The fifth preparatory practice is to do the 7-limb prayer. So because that is done to help purify negativities and create merit. And then the sixth preparation is to make a request for inspiration to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Okay, so you do that. That is all, it prepares you, It does, it changes your mind. So you're not just sitting down and like, now I got to go into samadhi. You've, had this transition and you're in touch with your own spiritual yearning and you know why you're doing this. Okay? And then you take, you are very clear about what your object is, your object of developing serenity. So if it's the breath, you're going to concentrate either here or at your abdomen. Watch what happens as you inhale and exhale. Observe impermanence while you're breathing. I mean, breathing is really just such a manifestation of how everything's impermanent. Our breath is changing every nanosecond, and we're usually not even aware of it. Yeah, so breathing can bring, you can understand impermanence. You can understand how all of us share the same air, and we all are trying to breathe to stay alive. So use that to develop, equanimity towards other living beings and see how they're similar to us. Yeah. Or if you're meditating on the Buddha, then you go through the different aspects of what the Buddha figure looks like, and think of him with a body of light, and looking at you with kindness and as a living being, not a bronze statue, and visualize that in the space in front. Well, like I was saying yesterday, don't worry about if it's not, technicolor with all the details. Yeah, because that's, you're creating an image in your mind. You're not seeing it with your eyes. So there's a difference there. Yeah? So you go over the details and then fix your mind on, your attention on the whole object of the Buddha. Yeah? You can see if it's helpful to make it a little smaller, if that helps you stay focused, or if it helps you to make it a little bit bigger. And, whatever you get, good, focus on that. And then if it starts to fade a little bit, then go over the details again. And if there's one aspect of the Buddha that it's, your mind is really drawn to, and it's easier to visualize that, maybe the Buddha's eyes, or, some aspect that, really, touches you, then, you can keep your focus primarily on that. Yeah. So this is the mental factor of mindfulness, that is identifying and focusing on placing your attention on the object of concentration. Okay, so mindfulness now has become, nobody really knows what it means anymore. Once Time and Newsweek magazines use a word, it becomes kind of mush, we don't really know what it means. So in Buddhism, mindfulness is the verbal root is the same one as for to remember. Yeah. So when you sit down to develop serenity, you're trying to remember your object of concentration. Yeah. Now, what interferes with remembering the object of concentration is, our two favorite activities. One is falling asleep, and the other is fantasizing. Yeah. So, you may have had a very good sleep the night before. You sit on the meditation cushion, and instantly. Okay. So that may happen to you. If that happens, sometimes there's some karma behind it. For example, in a previous life, maybe being disrespectful to Dharma books or to teachers or to Buddhism in general. Yeah, and so needing to do some purification practice to really, kind of make amends for that. Also doing prostrations. That's why first thing in the morning when you come in, you generate your motivation, and then you do the prostrations to the 35 Buddhas. First of all, it's a purification practice, so it works karmically. Second of all, you're getting some exercise, and that really helps your body to feel more invigorated. Okay, so prostrations is very helpful. In the break time between sessions, going out, looking long distances, looking at the stars. It's hard in the city, but looking far distance in the sky, really stretching your mind. Yeah, that was. People often ask me how we got the land here, and I had very specific criteria what I was looking for, and it had to be a place where there was a long view, where you could really stretch your mind and look, and where there was nature, where you could take a walk and be peaceful. Yeah. So, so do that. Splash cold water on your face. Yeah. Put cold water on your head before you sit down. That does work. Okay. Have a cup of tea. We're not going to talk about that. Because I know what you're going to say. Yes, but...
Coffee's better.
What?
Coffee's better for keeping you awake.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, tea is fine. Drink tea. The caffeine in tea is different than the caffeine in coffee. Yeah. Okay. So that will help you stay awake during the sessions, you know. And that's why also in the afternoon, right after you eat, is not the greatest time to sit down and try and concentrate in meditation, yeah. So that's why we had the thing of walking 15 minutes, sitting 15 minutes, walking, sitting, you know, where you alternate like that. When you're, the other thing that really takes us away is, you know, the fantasizing. So it could be fantasizing with attachment, you know, and I'm sure you all have nice lunch menus planned out, and you're hoping who's ever cooking today can read your mind and, you know, make that. Actually, when you live in a monastery, you know everybody's cooking style, and so when you know who's cooking, you kind of know what you're getting. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a really good practice for patience, you know. It's like, oh, today I feel like eating XYZ. Well, what we feel like eating doesn't matter. Beans, because you're getting bean. Yeah. So, yeah. You know, so fantasizing about something we want, fantasizing about, you know, how we're going to tell somebody that they better stop that behavior, or how we're going to tell them that we are not going to cooperate. Yeah. Or tell somebody, you know, plan our revenge. You know, the thing that I can say that I know they're so sensitive to, so I can just, and then look very innocent afterwards. Yeah, some people are very expert at that kind of thing. Yeah, any of you good with that? No, I know you aren't, but yeah, I'm sure your relatives are very good. Yeah, but you don't do that to anybody, do you? Say something that you know is touching their buttons. No, because you're nice people. Yeah. I had a friend who taught mediation, and so I was going to some of his things to see, you know, how he does things and what he does. And it was so great. He would start the thing off, you know, asking people, how many of you encounter people who are really difficult in your life? Every hand went up. And then he said, and how many of you, you know, are difficult people? You know, or how many of you are really cooperative people? Oh, everybody's cooperative. And he said, it's so unusual. Every group I get to teach mediation, they're all always the cooperative people, never the nasty people. Yeah. Yeah. So it's the same thing, people who come to Buddhist things. You're all nice, considerate. None of you ever blow up. None of you are ever rude. Why are you looking at me like that? Okay. So we can, you know, that takes us away from our object of concentration too. You know, anger, jealousy. Oh my goodness. Jealousy is so painful. You know, we've got to take revenge when we're jealous. Right? Yeah, when we take revenge, when we're jealous of somebody, depriving them of what they have is the right thing to do, because they don't deserve that. I should have it. And we throw a temper tantrum. Yeah, as we take revenge, and then we gloat. you're suffering. Now you see that you had happiness that was really supposed to come to me. I'm better than you. Yeah, we're really nice people, aren't we? Yeah. So, this kind of stuff takes us away from the object of meditation. So we have to learn to deal with it. And, at that point, you may try coming back to your object of concentration and stay with that. But sometimes, the affliction, either the craving or the animosity is so strong that our mind goes right back to whatever the distraction was. Yeah, you're there, making, I don't know, cheesecake a la something for lunch, and your mind just keeps going back to it. So then you need to really stop trying to focus on your object of meditation and meditate on the antidote to whatever was, distracting you. So we talked about the antidotes for anger and the antidotes for animosity. So I'm not going to repeat them again. You better remember. Okay, so we'll pause here. There may be some questions, comments. Yeah.
I think I can talk loud enough.
You're going to get on the camera.
There we go. Is that better? Yeah. What happens if I don't... This has been a really weird experience here this time. I sit down to meditate. When I go to meditate, I'm sensual desire, lethargy and sleepiness, restlessness and guilt, and deluded all at the same time, like instantly.
Yeah.
Like I'm falling asleep while I'm fantasizing about kittens riding bicycles and I want a cup of tea, right? I mean, I've had that experience of being one or two of those things at the same time, but never all of them at once. and I'm not sure if I think it has something to do with me being here, right? My brain.
Oh yes, it's definitely us.
Yeah, it's you guys. You see,
It's our
see how I
fault.
did that? See how I did that?
Yeah. Yeah, we deliberately make people.
I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it's your guys' fault. I just am. It's something my brain is reacting to. The seriousness of this.
No, this is quite normal. Yeah, and not normal for here, but I bet if you go back home, the same thing happens. Yeah, but what is quite normal is it seems like when you first start trying to do this meditation, that your mind is just like a mad elephant going all over the place. Yeah, can't calm down, do anything. Yeah, and so you feel like, what's wrong? Why is this happening now? Usually my mind is not like a mad wild elephant. Yeah. Well, actually, it is usually like that, but we're so used to it that we don't even notice it. And it's only when we're trying to focus the mind on one object that we see what's always going on. So it's not that your mind is more distracted now. Yeah, it's just for the first time you're noticing it. Sorry.
So what do I just keep trying? Just keep beating my head against it? I mean, just sitting there, just doing all that stuff and working on the antidotes that I can try to remember, like if I can get one of them at a time or something like that?
Yeah, I think the NIH is trying to develop a pill that you could take.
I'm all for that.
And Big Farm is going to charge a lot for that pill. So try the Buddha's methods instead. It's cheaper. Okay. Yeah, you had something?
So for me, I noticed that the planning mind comes up a lot. And when it's planning lunch, okay, that's attachment. When it's planning the garden for next year, okay, that's attachment. But sometimes it's just like planning the vacuuming I'm going to do later that day. Like, sometimes it seems like the planning is really the thing,
Yes.
not necessarily attachment. Is there, what
Yeah.
antidote would you recommend then?
Yeah, telling your mind to shut up. Yeah, sometimes, I mean, you have to sometimes tell your mind in a respectful way, not in an angry way, I'm not going to think about that right now. I really don't need to plan the rest of my life right now, or I don't really need to plan what area of I'm going to vacuum first either. Yeah, and you know, sometimes for these small things, just kind of saying, you know, I don't need to think about that right now. Well, is very helpful.
One time I was trying to focus on my object of meditation. I kept, like he was saying, just getting distracted, coming back. And I just told myself, stop. And I kind of actually shook myself. And then I refocused. It was quite firm. And, I was just, firm with my mind.
Yeah.
It helped.
Yeah, it can be very helpful.
Thank you for your teaching. It's very interesting to hear all those advices in the Dharma, your experiences. They are very funny and I love it. I think nothing is really wrong to have those kind of experiences, because this is when we are trying to train our mind.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we feel guilty because they say, oh, I fell again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not really nothing wrong. You are in the process.
Yeah.
It's the training mind.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, feeling guilty is another one of our bad habits. And it comes up later when they talk about remorse being a distraction, And if you suffer from guilt, it's really interesting, to look at why do I feel, first of all, what is guilt, and why do I feel guilty, because guilty is like, I'm a bad person. I did something, I'm a bad person. And then we extrapolate. I'm a bad person, I'm worthless. Yeah, something's wrong with me. Nobody loves me. I hope people don't know what's really going on in my mind and what I did. If they knew, nobody would speak to me again. I'm so awful. I'm the most awful one in the whole world. Yeah? Okay. Is this about guilt? No, then wait, okay. Thank you. And so we do like that. Is that a realistic mind? Are you telling yourself the truth at that moment? Yeah. I'm bad. Is that true? You made a mistake. You did something stupid. Does that mean you're bad? All of a sudden, your Buddha nature evaporated. It ran off. Yeah. Watch the mind that feels guilty. It is making up a whole story. And the underlying part of that guilt story, I grew up Jewish. I know about guilt. Yeah, we're guiltier than you Catholics. Yeah. Yeah, Catholics, they give us a run, but, Protestants, hopeless. I'm joking. So, there's this underlying thing to guilt of, if I feel, the more I can make myself feel awful, the more I can be depressed about how awful I was, then that's the more I'm making amends for what I did. That's the psychology of guilt. Now, is that true? That the worse I feel, the more I feel I'm worthless, that is making amends? Does that do anything to make amends? No, it just digs me into more of a self-centered ditch. Yeah, because when I am guilty, yeah, who am I thinking about all the time when I'm guilty? It's not you, it's me. Because I am the worst one. And I do my concentration meditation, reciting the mantra, I am the worst one, I am terrible, I am hopeless, I feel awful, I shouldn't even be alive, I'm so despicable, look what I did, blah, 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 blah. Me, forget do, re, I'm just stuck on me. It's, that mind is not a realistic mind. It is not a beneficial mind. So guilt, shame, these are two mental states that are to be banished. They belong in the category of afflictions. They do not belong in the category of virtuous things that make amends. They're definitely in the category of afflictions. So if your mind starts going in that direction, you gotta cut it. Yeah, and like I said, exploring why do I tell myself this over and over and over again? Yeah, how worthless and stupid I am. What good does it do for me? Well, on one level, it doesn't do any good. On another level, I am important. Because I hold the status of being the worst one in the world. I have the status of being the person that's to blame for everything that is wrong in the universe. That's how important I am. Yeah. When you really look at what guilt is doing, it's a very strange kind of self-importance. Yeah. And we can't see other living beings, and connect with them because we're so stuck in repeating, the mantra, I am so awful, I am guilty, I am terrible. I am so awful, I am guilty, I am terrible. Over and over and over again. Yeah, we don't even need to count 100,000. We just do it automatically. But is any of it true? When you look at it, yeah, is any of it true? I am so important, I can make anything go wrong. Really? Yeah. I'm sorry, I really I'm not that important that I can make anything go wrong. Yeah, I made a mistake. I learned from it. Then I become better. Okay, back to your object meditation. stop the drama. Okay, one last question, Susan? Oh.
So on the topic of guilt, I think that there's another kind of guilt that doesn't come from an action, but maybe people were brought up in a situation where they didn't get acknowledgement, or
They didn't get what?
they didn't get acknowledgement as children and didn't develop a healthy self-concept. So this habit of feeling just this presence of guilt, just breathing guilt in and out, might just be a sense of worthlessness. And when that happens, when I recognize that in myself, my solution is to remember Buddha nature and view everyone as having Buddha nature, but equally. And so then that takes away any superiority or lower standing. For me, that has been helpful.
Yep. Yep, that's very good. Whatever antidote works, use it. Yeah.
That's good, because my question is about applications of the antidote. So if we're
Hold the microphone.
if we're experiencing, we're reliving a situation that generated anger for us, and we're asking ourselves the questions to get to, why am I really angry and all of that. When we transition to applying the antidote, are we just sitting then in love and compassion, or are we imagining acting out the love and compassion on the situation as a way to reinforce how we want to behave?
And that depends on you, Sometimes just feeling the total change in your mind, that's good. You can, yeah. Other times you want to envision doing something, yeah.